The distant rumble of the ship's engines vibrated softly through the hull as Dr. Marcus Levin walked briskly towards the command center of the USS Pioneer. The year was 2157, and humanity was on the brink of its first real interaction with an alien civilization. The Eternos, a race both ancient and enigmatic, had invited a delegation of human scientists and diplomats to their home planet, Eterna. As Marcus entered the command center, he was greeted by Captain James Herrera, the commanding officer of the mission. Herrera was a seasoned veteran of space exploration, his face weathered by years in service, but his eyes still sharp and observant. "Dr. Levin, good to see you up and about. Nervous about today?" Herrera asked, offering a firm handshake. "Not exactly nervous, Captain. More like eager," Marcus replied, adjusting his glasses. "Today could change everything we know about life in the universe." Herrera chuckled. "That's the spirit. Let's hope they're as friendly as they've promised." The communication officer, Lieutenant Gomez, called out from his console. "Sir, we're receiving the landing coordinates from the Eternos." "On screen, Lieutenant," Herrera commanded. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the swirling blue and green orb of Eterna. The planet was breathtaking, covered in vast oceans and sprawling continents lush with exotic vegetation. As the Pioneer approached the designated landing area, Marcus stood beside Herrera, both men watching in awe. The ship descended through the atmosphere, clouds parting around them until the sprawling architecture of the Eternos capital came into view. Towering structures of crystal and metal gleamed under the alien sun, a stark contrast to the natural beauty surrounding it. "Dr. Levin, you're up," said Herrera as the ship landed smoothly on a platform jutting out from one of the larger buildings. "Remember, we're guests here. Let's keep things diplomatic." Marcus nodded, straightening his jacket as he prepared to disembark. The airlock doors hissed open, revealing a delegation of Eternos waiting for them. They were taller than humans, with translucent skin that shimmered with a subtle glow and eyes that held millennia of wisdom. "Welcome, travelers from Earth," spoke the Eternos leader, his voice a melodic whisper that resonated oddly in human ears. "I am Silas, your guide and liaison during your stay." "Thank you for having us, Silas," Marcus responded, stepping forward to meet the alien. "I'm Dr. Marcus Levin, and this is Captain James Herrera." Silas nodded, his gaze lingering on Marcus. "Your work precedes you, Dr. Levin. We are particularly interested in your theories on quantum biology." Marcus was taken aback. "I'm honored you're familiar with my work. I hope to learn much from your people as well." As they walked towards a sleek transport vehicle, Silas continued, "Our council believes there is much both our races can learn from each other. This is a rare opportunity for cultural and scientific exchange." Herrera leaned over to Marcus as they followed Silas. "Looks like you're going to be the star of the show, Doctor. Let's make sure we make the most of it." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. "I'll do my best, Captain. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for all of us." The vehicle whisked them away, gliding silently over the city towards a towering complex that gleamed like a jewel under the alien sun. As they traveled, Marcus's mind raced with possibilities. This was the frontier of human experience, the meeting of old and new. What secrets would the Eternos reveal? And what would they think of the curious creatures called humans? As the sleek transport vehicle glided through the Eternos capital, Marcus Levin's eyes absorbed every detail of the alien architecture, their crystalline structures reflecting the pale sunlight in dazzling patterns. Beside him, Captain James Herrera seemed equally captivated by the spectacle. "Doctor, if their cities are this impressive, I can only imagine what their technology must be like," Herrera murmured, his tone a mix of admiration and caution. Marcus nodded, his mind racing with scientific curiosity. "Their advancements must be centuries beyond ours, especially in genetics and quantum mechanics. Their offer for an exchange is incredibly generous. We might just leap forward by decades in our understanding." The vehicle came to a gentle stop outside a massive structure that towered over them, its surface shimmering with a metallic sheen that seemed to change color as they watched. They were escorted inside by Silas, who led them into a vast open-plan laboratory filled with equipment that Marcus could only begin to understand. "This is our primary research facility for what you would call applied quantum biology," Silas explained, his voice echoing slightly in the large space. "Here, we have developed the technologies that sustain our immortality." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. "You've achieved actual biological immortality? That's been a theoretical concept at best for us." Yes, Dr. Levin, Silas replied, a trace of pride in his tone. Our immortality is not just a prolongation of life, but a complete stasis of cellular aging. We can show you the basic principles if you are interested. Absolutely, Marcus said eagerly, following Silas to a section of the lab where strange devices hummed and emitted soft lights. Silas gestured to a large, cylindrical chamber filled with a swirling mist. This chamber is one of our stasis generators. It creates a quantum field that stabilizes molecular decay and renews cellular structures continuously. Marcus, scribbling notes on his digital pad, was fascinated. This is revolutionary. The implications for medicine alone are staggering. Herrera, always the tactician, interjected. But how does it affect your society? If no one dies, how do you manage population control, resources, or even ambition? Silas's expression darkened slightly. These are indeed challenges. Our population is strictly controlled, and our resources are managed through advanced ecological systems. As for ambition, it has become more about intellectual achievements and exploration than expansion or reproduction. As the tour continued, Marcus found himself pulled aside by another Eternos scientist, Lyra, who seemed particularly interested in his background in quantum biology. Dr. Levin, your theory on quantum consciousness caught my attention, Lyra said, her voice low. Our immortality technology does not address the quantum aspects of consciousness, which you propose could be manipulated to enhance cognitive functions. Marcus was intrigued. There's potential synergy here. My theories are still in the early stages, but with your technology, we could explore practical applications, perhaps even find a way to enhance your system. Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting a spark of excitement. I believe a collaboration could be beneficial. Shall we arrange a session to discuss this further? Absolutely, Lyra. I think we're on the brink of something transformative, Marcus replied, his mind alive with possibilities. As Marcus and Lyra delved deeper into technical discussions, Herrera watched the interactions with a mixture of pride and concern. The potential for advancement was enormous, but so were the risks of sharing human insights with such a powerful civilization. The day concluded with plans for collaborative experiments, leaving Marcus energized and hopeful. However, as they returned to the Pioneer, Herrera couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Be careful, Marcus, Herrera said quietly as they boarded their ship. We don't fully understand their motives yet. Marcus nodded, his mind still buzzing with the day's revelations. I know, James, but this is too important to pass up. We have to pursue this. As night fell over the alien city, the lights of the Eternos towers flickered like stars, a reminder of the delicate balance between discovery and diplomacy. Marcus knew he was walking a tightrope, but he was determined to see it through, driven by the potential to unlock the secrets of life itself. Back aboard the USS Pioneer, Dr. Marcus Levin and Captain James Herrera gathered in the briefing room with their senior staff, their faces illuminated by the glow of the holographic display at the center of the table. The mood was tense. The revelations of Eternos technology had rippled through the crew with a mix of awe and apprehension. Let's recap, Herrera began, his voice firm. The Eternos have not only achieved immortality through quantum biology, but have also developed technologies that are light years ahead of anything we've seen. Dr. Levin believes there are opportunities for significant advancements in human medicine and quantum applications. Marcus chimed in, his enthusiasm barely contained. The potential is enormous. If we could integrate just a fraction of their quantum stabilization techniques, we could eradicate diseases, extend human lifespan, and enhance cognitive functions. However, the ship's security chief, Lieutenant Commander Zoe Park, raised a critical point. While the scientific benefits are clear, we need to consider the strategic implications. We've essentially found the Achilles heel of a powerful, immortal civilization. This knowledge makes us a potential threat to them. Herrera nodded, his expression grave. Exactly. And while the Eternos have been hospitable, we don't know their full intentions. Our discovery could be seen as a weapon as much as a healing tool. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth Command. The room tensed as the Admiral appeared on screen, his face somber. Captain Herrera, Dr. Levin, we've received troubling news. Eternos ships have been spotted in several unauthorized sectors near Earth. Their intentions are unclear, but their presence has prompted a defensive alert across all colonies. We need to understand their motives, fast. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Admiral, could this be a reaction to what we've learned about their immortality technology? It's possible, the Admiral replied. We need to tread carefully. Any action we take could escalate into full-scale conflict. After the call, Herrera turned to his team. We need a strategy. Dr. Levin, continue your collaboration, but be vigilant. Commander Park, increase security protocols and monitor all communications with the Eternos. As Marcus returned to his lab, he pondered the sudden shift in their situation. The night sky outside his window was dotted with stars, each possibly a witness to countless untold stories of conflict and cooperation in the cosmos. His thoughts were interrupted by a call from Lyra, the Eternos scientist. Dr. Levin, I heard about your fleets mobilizing. Is something wrong? Her voice was calm, but there was an undercurrent of concern. Marcus hesitated, then chose honesty. Lyra, there have been sightings of Eternos ships near Earth. It's caused quite a stir. We're trying to understand your people's intentions. Lyra paused, her silhouette flickering in the hologram. This is troubling. I assure you, the majority of Eternos are committed to peace. I will investigate this matter from our side. Thank you, Lyra. Keeping open lines of communication might be our best hope to avoid misunderstanding, Marcus replied, his mind racing with the implications of their conversation. As Marcus ended the call, he felt the weight of their precarious position. The knowledge he had about the Eternos' immortality was a double-edged sword, one that could cut through the shadows of ignorance or provoke the flames of war. Determined to find a peaceful resolution, Marcus set about preparing for his next meeting with Lyra, armed with data and a hope to bridge the growing gap between their races. Yet the universe seemed poised on the brink of a conflict that could redefine the boundaries of life and time. The USS Pioneer shuddered as it entered the orbit of Earth, returning from its groundbreaking but tense mission among the Eternos. Dr. Marcus Levin stood beside Captain James Herrera in the observation deck, watching as the blue and green planet grew larger in their view. The beauty of the homecoming was marred by the unsettling reports of Eternos ships appearing uninvited near human colonies. Marcus, once we land, the United Earth Council wants a full debriefing. There's a lot riding on what we've learned, Herrera said, his voice thick with concern. Marcus nodded, his mind already racing with the implications of their findings and the potential threats they now faced. I'll be ready. We need to figure out a strategy not just for defense, but for a peaceful resolution. Upon landing, the reception was tense. The news of Eternos ships had triggered a global alert, and military units were on standby across the world. Marcus and Herrera were whisked away to the United Earth Council, where leaders and military strategists were gathered in a secure conference room. As Marcus presented his findings, the room was filled with a mix of awe and fear. The Eternos have achieved what we've only dreamed of through quantum biology. However, their presence near our space could be seen as an aggressive scout or a misunderstanding. We need to prepare for both scenarios. General Carter, head of Earth's defense forces, leaned forward, his eyes hard. Dr. Levin, your work could be key to our survival. Can your discoveries help us develop a defense? Marcus paused, considering the ethical and practical implications. Possibly. We could theoretically use the quantum biological principles to enhance our own defenses, but it's uncharted territory. We'll need time. There isn't much of it, Carter replied grimly. We've observed the Eternos ships making strategic moves around our defenses. It's like they know exactly what to avoid. The meeting concluded with a decision to accelerate defense research while opening diplomatic channels to the Eternos. Marcus was appointed head of a new scientific task force focused on leveraging Eternos technology for Earth's benefit. The following weeks were a blur for Marcus as he led a team of top scientists and engineers. They worked tirelessly, exploring the principles of quantum biology and developing prototypes for new defense systems. One evening, as Marcus reviewed the latest simulation data, his communications screen lit up. It was Lyra, looking more somber than usual. Marcus, I found something troubling. It seems there are factions within the Eternos leadership that view your species as a potential threat to our immortality. They might be pushing for a preemptive strike. Marcus's heart sank. We're working on defenses, Lyra, but we don't want a war. Can you find out more? I'll try, but be cautious, Marcus. Not all Eternos share my view of peace, Lyra warned before ending the call. Days turned into weeks, and the Earth's defenses slowly strengthened. Marcus's team made breakthroughs, adapting Eternos technologies to create shields that could disrupt quantum fields, potentially neutralizing Eternos advantages. As tensions escalated, an emergency session of the United Earth Council was called. Marcus presented the new defense capabilities, demonstrating a prototype that could, in theory, protect Earth from Eternos weaponry. After the presentation, General Carter approached Marcus, clapping him on the shoulder. "Dr. Levin, you've given us more than a fighting chance, but let's hope it never comes to that." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of his responsibilities. "We'll continue to push for diplomacy, General. War is not the answer we want." As Marcus left the council chamber, he looked up at the stars, each one a silent observer of their struggles. Earth had risen from the ashes of fear and uncertainty, armed with new knowledge and hope for peace. But the horizon remained shadowed with the potential for conflict, a reminder that in the vastness of the cosmos, survival was never guaranteed. Months after the tension-filled return of the USS Pioneer, the uneasy peace between Earth and the Eternos shattered. The Eternos, perhaps viewing humanity's rapid militarization as a prelude to aggression, launched a full-scale assault. Their ships, armed with advanced quantum weaponry, appeared suddenly in Earth's orbit, bypassing early warning systems with terrifying efficiency. In the Situation Room, Captain James Herrera and Dr. Marcus Levin watched in horror as reports flooded in. Eternos forces had initiated hostilities without formal declaration, striking strategic bases and cities with precision and devastating effect. "Deploy all units. Get the quantum disruptors online now." General Carter barked orders as operators scrambled to respond. The newly developed Earth defenses, based on Marcus's research, were about to face their first real test. Marcus, though a scientist, had found himself thrust into the role of a wartime advisor. "Ensure the disruptors are calibrated to the frequencies we tested. It's our best shot at neutralizing their beam weapons." As the Eternos descended, battles raged both in space and on the planet's surface. Earth's forces fought valiantly, their newly devised quantum shields flickering to life, casting protective domes over cities and military installations. The shields were effective, but the strain on power resources was immense. In orbit, Herrera commanded the space fleet in a desperate defense. Ships darted through volleys of quantum fire, returning salvos with kinetic projectiles and missiles, the only weapons that seemed to have any effect on the Eternos' shimmering vessels. Marcus watched a live feed from a battlecruiser's camera as it maneuvered close to an Eternos ship. The view was chaotic, filled with blasts and explosions. "James, have them focus fire on the propulsion systems. Without mobility, their tactical advantage decreases." Herrera relayed the instructions, and moments later, the feed showed a successful strike. An Eternos ship, its propulsion damaged, drifted helplessly before exploding in a silent, brilliant flash. Despite these small victories, the scale of the invasion was overwhelming. Reports came in of Eternos troops landing in rural and urban areas, engaging in ground combat. Their soldiers were every bit as formidable as their technology, armed with armor that regenerated almost as quickly as it was damaged. "Marcus, we need to counter their ground forces," Carter urged, looking over to where Marcus stood with a team of scientists and military engineers. "We've been working on a localized EMP device. It won't be long range, but it could disable their armor systems temporarily," Marcus suggested, his brain working feverishly against the ticking clock of war. "Do it. Deploy them with the special ops teams. Every second counts," Carter responded immediately. As Marcus coordinated with tech teams, he received a distressing message from Lyra. "Marcus, I fear this war may lead to irreversible consequences. There is a faction here that does not want it to end. They are pushing for the use of a weapon that—" The message cut off abruptly, leaving an ominous silence. Marcus felt a chill as he contemplated her words. He relayed the information to Carter and Herrera, adding, "We might be facing something far worse than we imagined." The war continued, weeks turning into months. Earth's forces adapted to the relentless pressure, their tactics ever evolving. Marcus's innovations on the battlefield began to turn the tide, providing hope where there was none. In a high-stakes operation, special ops teams equipped with Marcus's EMP devices infiltrated key Eternos positions, disabling their regenerative armor and turning the momentum in several ground skirmishes. As Marcus observed the progress of the war from the command center, he couldn't help but wonder about the cost. Each report of casualties, each broadcast of devastation, weighed heavily on him. Humanity was holding its ground, but at what price? The Quantum War, as it came to be known, was not just a clash of civilizations, but a profound test of human resolve against an almost godlike foe. The outcome remained uncertain. The scales of victory balanced precariously as both sides searched for an edge in the ongoing cosmic conflict. Under the cover of darkness, Dr. Marcus Levin and a team of elite commandos approached the Eternos' capital planet, Eterna. Their mission was audacious and desperate: Infiltrate the Eternos main research facility to capture crucial technology that could end the war. Despite the ongoing quantum war, Marcus's prior relations and knowledge of Eterna gave them a fighting chance. The stealth shuttle, cloaked and silent, maneuvered through the planet's defense perimeter, exploiting gaps that Marcus and his team had previously identified in the Eternos surveillance network. Dr. Levin, we're 5 minutes from the drop zone, whispered Captain Lisa Nguyen, the team leader. Her eyes were fixed on the holographic map displaying their infiltration route. Marcus nodded, adjusting his tactical vest. Despite being a scientist, the months of conflict had honed his survival skills. Once we're in, we head straight for the quantum core, disable it, and their command network collapses. The shuttle landed softly on a secluded plateau miles away from the Eternos facility. The team disembarked, their movements swift and silent as they made their way through the alien foliage under the cover of Eterna's twin moons. As they approached the facility, the scale of Eternos technology became oppressively apparent. Towering structures glowed softly with internal light, their designs both beautiful and alien. Marcus led the team to a service entrance he had learned about from Lyra. Using a compact quantum decryptor, they bypassed the security system, gaining entry without alerting the guards. Inside, the corridors were sleek and immaculate, lined with pulsating energy conduits that illuminated their path. They encountered minimal resistance, thanks to the timing. Most Eternos were in their regeneration phase, a daily ritual that was essential for their prolonged lifespans. Reaching the core was less challenging than anticipated, but enabling the device that would disrupt the Eternos network was another matter. Marcus worked feverishly at the terminal, his fingers dancing over the alien interface as Captain Nguyen and her team guarded the entry points. Suddenly, alarms blared, shattering the silence. "They're onto us," shouted Sergeant Davies, peering through his scope down the corridor. A squad of Eternos, alerted by the security breach, advanced with weapons drawn. The commandos took defensive positions, their Earth-made weapons ready. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds," Marcus muttered, his focus unbroken despite the chaos erupting behind him. The firefight ensued with intense exchanges. Eternos technology proved formidable, but Earth's special ops were well prepared. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds filled the corridor, creating a deadly ballet of light and shadow. With a triumphant beep, the device activated, sending a surge through the Eternos network. "It's done! The core is offline," Marcus exclaimed. "Time to exfiltrate! Move out!" Captain Nguyen commanded as the team covered Marcus's retreat, weaving through the corridors with practiced precision. They raced back to their shuttle, dodging additional security forces. As they ascended into Eterna's night sky, Marcus looked back at the dimming lights of the facility, a symbol of their small but critical victory. Back aboard the Pioneer, the impact of their mission became clear. Reports flooded in of widespread confusion and disarray among the Eternos forces. The disabling of their quantum core had disrupted their communication and coordination significantly. "This could turn the war in our favor," Captain James Herrera remarked, clapping Marcus on the shoulder. Marcus, exhausted yet exhilarated, knew this was only the beginning of the end. They had struck a significant blow, but the path to peace was still fraught with uncertainty. As he pondered the next steps, he couldn't help but feel a deepening resolve to see this through, for both humanity and the Eternos, hoping that one day they could find a resolution that would spare both races further destruction. After the critical blow dealt to the Eternos by disabling their quantum core, the tides of war shifted subtly but significantly in favor of Earth. Yet, Dr. Marcus Levin, the architect of that victory, felt no elation. The endless reports of casualties and destruction weighed heavily on his conscience. He had hoped for a resolution that did not hinge on so much suffering. Back on Earth, in the hastily arranged war room buried deep under the United Nations headquarters, Marcus stood before a gathering of the world's leaders and top military officials. The walls, lined with digital screens, displayed maps and real-time footage from various fronts of the war. "Leaders, commanders," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Our recent success has given us leverage, and perhaps an opportunity not just to win, but to end this conflict with a resolution that ensures lasting peace." General Carter nodded, his face grim. "Your point is well taken, Dr. Levin. But we must be cautious. The Eternos are reeling but not defeated. What do you propose?" Marcus clicked a button, and the room's central hologram flickered to display his proposed plan. "A diplomatic approach, We now have the upper hand, but using it to force the Eternos into a peace agreement could save millions and stabilize our galaxy. Whispers filled the room as Marcus outlined his strategy, suggesting a ceasefire followed by peace talks. He emphasized the mutual benefits of ending the war. Earth could gain invaluable knowledge and technology, while the Eternos could secure their civilization's future, no longer needing to fear humanity as a threat. As the assembly debated his proposal, a secure communication line buzzed to life. It was Lyra, her image flickering with the strain of covert transmission. "Marcus, I have crucial information. The faction that pushed for escalation is losing power. There is significant support for peace among my people. We must act quickly." Emboldened by Lyra's message, Marcus addressed the room with renewed vigor. "We have a real chance here, not just for a ceasefire but for a lasting alliance. We've seen that the Eternos are not monolithic. Many seek peace as fervently as we do." After intense deliberation, the assembly agreed to Marcus's plan. A ceasefire was declared, and Marcus, along with a select team of diplomats and scientists, traveled to Eterna for peace negotiations. The negotiations were tense, with both sides laying out their fears and aspirations. Marcus met with Eternos leaders, including those once vehemently opposed to peace. He shared his vision, not just for an end to hostilities, but for a future where both species could learn from each other. "We are not so different in our desires for security and knowledge," Marcus explained during a critical session. "What we've achieved through conflict, we can surpass through cooperation." Weeks of negotiations culminated in a historic agreement. Earth and the Eternos formed a pact, exchanging knowledge and resources. The Eternos agreed to share their advanced technologies in exchange for guarantees that Earth would not exploit the secrets of their immortality. As Marcus prepared to leave Eterna, Lyra approached him. "Your courage changed the course of this conflict, Marcus. Both our peoples owe you a debt." Marcus smiled, his relief palpable. "It was never about winning a war, Lyra. It was about forging a path to coexistence." Returning to Earth, Marcus was hailed as a hero, but the titles meant little to him compared to the relief of no longer hearing daily casualty reports. He had started this journey as a scientist, driven by curiosity, and ended it as a peacemaker, driven by a profound desire to see humanity and the Eternos thrive together. The fall of the Eternos as immortals marked not an end, but a transformation, a beginning of a new era for both races, one filled with shared challenges and boundless possibilities. As he watched Earth's sunset from the Peace Memorial on Eterna, Marcus knew that while the path ahead would be fraught with difficulties, it was one worth traversing together. Dr. Marcus Levin stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Earth-Eternos Alliance headquarters, watching as the sun rose over the horizon of a revitalized Earth. The landscape, once marred by the scars of war, now thrived with new growth, symbolizing the renewal and cooperation between Earth and the Eternos. It had been a year since the historic peace agreement. The combined efforts of Earth scientists and Eternos engineers had led to breakthroughs in energy production, medical technologies, and ecological restoration. Marcus, once a simple physicist, now served as an ambassador at large for Earth, a role he had never imagined but embraced with the passion of a man who had seen too much war. Beside him stood Captain James Herrera, retired from military service and now a key advisor for interstellar diplomacy. "You know, Marcus, I never thought I'd see the day when our kids could learn about the Eternos in school as allies rather than enemies," Herrera remarked, his voice reflective. Marcus nodded, his eyes still fixed on the sunrise. "It shows how much can change, James. We've not only averted a catastrophe but set a precedent for how humanity handles contact with other civilizations." As they spoke, a group of Earth and Eternos children passed by, laughing and sharing stories in a seamless blend of English and the Eternos language, a testament to the new world they were building. Later that day, Marcus attended the Alliance Council meeting, where representatives from both races discussed ongoing projects and future initiatives. The atmosphere was one of collaborative spirit, a far cry from the tense war room meetings of the past. Lyra, now an ambassador for the Eternos, shared updates on the Joint Space Exploration Initiative. "Our combined fleet is scheduled to explore the Andromeda boundary next month. With human curiosity and Eternos technology, who knows what we'll discover," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Marcus responded with equal enthusiasm. "This partnership has opened doors we never could have unlocked alone. Our children will grow up in a universe filled with endless possibilities." The meeting concluded with plans to establish a joint cultural festival, celebrating the diversity and unity of both races. As Marcus prepared his closing remarks, he felt a profound sense of accomplishment and optimism. We stand today not just as survivors of a conflict, but as pioneers of a new way forward. This alliance is our shared legacy, crafted from the lessons of our past and our hopes for the future, Marcus declared, his voice resonant in the quiet room. Returning to his office, Marcus gazed at a photo of Earth and Eterna, side by side, hanging on the wall. It was a popular image, symbolizing the unity and shared destiny of the two worlds. His communicator beeped, a message from his daughter, asking about his speech for the upcoming cultural festival. Smiling, Marcus typed a reply, promising to share stories of courage, innovation, and the power of peace. As he sent the message, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The challenges had been immense, but the rewards of peace were greater. As dusk settled, Marcus walked through the community gardens, a project that symbolized the growth and nourishment of their new relationship. Children played in the background, their laughter a reminder of the peace and prosperity that had blossomed from the ashes of conflict. This new dawn was not just a cessation of war, but a vibrant testament to what could be achieved when humanity reached out with open hands, not clenched fists. Marcus knew the road ahead would have its share of obstacles, but as he watched the sunset, he felt ready for whatever challenges might come, guided by the light of hope and cooperation.